The sailors decide who will be sacrificed to the giant crab in order to prolong the lives of the remaining crew members.
Every last bite.
Once upon a time, in distant seas, people hunted the Jabberwock shark. Ships often didn't return from these perilous voyages, and people used to say that the sailors had bad trips. In the midst of an alien ocean, a ship carrying wandering sailors gets caught in a storm. The navigator tries to steer the vessel on a favorable course when suddenly one of the sailors spots that they are being attacked by a tanapod, a gigantic carnivorous sea crab. Climbing aboard the ship, it kills everyone in its path. Trying not to succumb to panic, the sailors grab whatever they can to fend off the crab. They use spears, axes, and other weapons, but can't inflict any damage on the tanapod, as its shell proves too tough. Anyone who tries to confront the monster becomes easy prey, either thrown overboard or torn apart. After eliminating half the crew, the tanapod retreats to the hold. The survivors realize they need to find a negotiator who can go down into the hold and communicate with the monster to figure out what it wants. To choose this person as fairly and impartially as possible, Torin proposes a blind draw, with several strings and only one short one. The right to draw first is given to a young and inexperienced sailor who, fortunately, pulls a long string and is thus safe from harm. Next is Melis, who draws strings for himself and his disabled brother, also pulling 2 long strings. Then it's the turn of a burly sailor, who pulls the only short string. Changing the rules in the middle of the draw, he declares himself the ship's leader due to the captain's absence and selects a victim to negotiate with the monster. Ironically, the chosen person is Torin, who proposed the fair draw. The sailors force him to go down into the hold, and Torin decides it's better to accept his fate than to resist his armed comrades. Instead of falling into the hole on the deck, he descends the stairs. The others, fearing the crab might escape, close and block the door, assuming Torin is unlikely to survive and return. As soon as the negotiator descends, the tanapod attacks him, seeing him as easy prey. Trying to escape from the monster, Torin returns to the narrow stairway where the passage is too tight for the crab to reach him. Using the corpse of one of the sailors, the tanapod demands to be taken to Faden Island, an island full of people who could become its next prey. Before agreeing to the monster's terms, the negotiator proposes a deal. He will stay alive as long as they are en route to the island, since he is the only one who can navigate the ship and plot the right course. Accepting this condition and realizing that Torin must stay alive, the creature steps back to make the negotiator feel safe. Additionally, Torin asks the crab to regurgitate the belongings of the deceased captain, among which he finds a key. A few minutes later, Torin knocks on the door and asks to be let out to report on the agreement with the tanapod. Once the door is opened, he gains a few precious seconds to distance himself from the other sailors. Being the closest to his goal, Torin runs to the captain's cabin and uses the key to open a chest containing the captain's revolver. Considering this his only way to protect himself from his colleagues' hostility, the sailor threatens them with the weapon and informs them that he has secured a favorable deal. As the only one armed, Torin proposes a new deal to the sailors. He explains that the monster wants to reach Faden Island and turn all its inhabitants into its prey. At the same time, Torin realizes that the crab is likely hungry and might become aggressive if not fed during the journey. The burly sailor, now taking on the role of captain, suggests feeding the monster Melis's disabled brother, since he is weak and nearly useless. Melis defends his brother and refuses to let him be sacrificed to the creature. Not wanting to get involved in lengthy and fruitless arguments, Torin suggests making another difficult choice collectively. He hints that the choice is obvious and they can make it right away. The burly sailor, understanding that he is the one being targeted, is overpowered by the crowd and is thrown into the hold to be devoured by the tanapod. With the main threat and the one who made him the negotiator out of the way, Torin takes the map to explain the crab's goals and plans. The crab wants to reach Faden Island, which is populated with women, the elderly, and children. Many are not frightened by this situation, as the locals are known for their hostility, greeting sailors not with food and tea, but with a spit in the face. Despite the unwelcoming nature of the locals, Torin proposes an alternative. There are uninhabited islands further on where they could land the creature on deserted land and save the people of Faden. Noticing that most of the sailors are confused and afraid to voice their opinions, Torin suggests a secret ballot, where all votes are equal and no one will know who voted for what. He distributes slips of paper and asks the sailors to mark a circle if they want to save the people of Faden and go to the uninhabited island, or a cross if they are willing to condemn hundreds of innocent people to death. Torin relies on the sailors' consciences, hoping they will make the right choice and not go along with the monster's demands. Soon, everyone votes and casts their slips into a container, allowing Torin to count the votes and announce the result. A few minutes later, Torin returns to the sailors and reveals that he has folded the ballots in a unique way, making each one distinct. He hadn't warned them beforehand to see who would make which choice. Ultimately, Torin identifies 2 cowardly traitors who betrayed their fellow sailors and are willing to make a deal with the tanapod. Torin draws the revolver and asks Mr. Melis to step aside. The young sailor, thinking his days are numbered, closes his eyes, but Torin shoots the two cowards, killing them with a single shot. Throwing the bodies to the Tanapod, Torin hopes he has gained a little more time, allowing them to reach the uninhabited island and save the people of Phaeton. Changing the course, Torin climbs to the lookout to assess the surroundings and, using the map and compass, aims to reach the uninhabited islands as quickly as possible. At the same time, one of the sailors, armed with a knife, approaches him. The brewing mutiny against Torin could end with his elimination, but he senses the silence and guesses the sailor's intentions. Drawing his revolver, Torin is ready to fire, but the traitorous sailor begs for mercy, claiming the others forced him into this. The crab calls Torin and demands to be taken to Phaeton Island as soon as possible. It turns out the Tanapod has offspring that need feeding and requires new victims. In the evening, the sailors spot Phaeton Island on the horizon, realizing they are very close and could rid themselves of the monster within a couple of hours. That night, the sailors organize a second mutiny and, breaking into Torin's quarters, attack him to execute him. Fortunately for Torin, he anticipated this and had stuffed his bed with pillows, lying nearby. Realizing that his crew is full of traitors, he executes 5 of them. Counting the bodies, Torin finds the last surviving crew member who wasn't involved in the mutiny. Asking for help, the sailor and Torin dispose of the bodies in the hold with the crab. During their conversation, Torin admits he hadn't sorted the ballot since it wasn't necessary. Everyone, including the last survivor, had voted for the deal with the monster, so Torin throws him into the hold after the other sailors' bodies. Upon arriving at the uninhabited island, Torin descends into the hold to talk to the crab. He claims it is Phaeton Island, but the monster could reveal the deception at any moment. To buy precious seconds, Torin talks about the Jabberwock shark's characteristics. Its meat is inedible due to high fat content, and its skin is too tough for making clothes. By puncturing 2 barrels, Torin explains that the only useful resource is the fat, then shoots a kerosene lamp, starting a fire. The crab tries to execute the deceiver, but Torin escapes from the ship and jumps into the water. Finding a lifeboat and heading towards Phaeton Island, the sole survivor watches as the Tanapod burns and the ship slowly sinks. Share your thoughts in the comments down below, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.